What's up, everybody? We have a rowdy crew with us today.
What's up?
We are represented by not only BVSD, but the Blue Valley School District. Coming
Blue
at
Valley.
You hot. Lindsay and Carrie and Brad are so excited to be here. The Facebook world, the Twitter world, they're going to be blowing up because of these celebrities. They're talking all about gamification today. So with that, Brad, Lindsay, Carrie, take it away.
Yo. Well, we are, Mark, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to connect. And I think, Carrie and Lindsay, you could agree or disagree, but like when we get together on Zoom or anything with videoing, like, I don't know, it's just fun. It's just fun. So I hope you have some fun today as we share some fun things about what we like to do, which is learning, teaching, and using Canvas to make that learning and teaching more rad. So yeah, I'm Mark. We're just gonna dive in and talk some gamification stuff. We have a lot to share, and we're gonna try to share just the good stuff. And if you want more of it, you can hit us up on Twitter or find us in the Canvas community, whatever. So
I'll say Brad and I both have a tendency to be a bit long-winded. So Lindsay is going to keep us to a minimum today, but like we really do. We got a ton of stuff to share with you guys. So obviously you can connect with us. We added our Twitter handles today, so you can always connect with us there if you got more questions after the session ends today. But yeah, we're super excited to be here.
And we nominated Mark. If you've ever seen the ESPN show where they like delve out points to those that are contributing good ideas, yes. So if you could be our point giver, we would appreciate it.
And for every time the word "rad" is used in this presentation, I'm just telling you.
Well, that is a rad idea. So 2 points. No, so I'm Brad Moser. I'll introduce myself. I'll let Carrie and Lindsay introduce themselves, and then I'll share what we want to talk about today. I'm a director of blended learning in the Blue Valley School District. We are located in South Kansas City, so Overland Park area, and we love our barbecue, and which is awesome. And we are live, so there's my son bringing me water. Excellent. Thanks, Carter. And so we have kids, we have families, we're just like you guys. I hope, and you guys can appreciate and give us that grace as well. I taught physics in high school, and actually some of my nuggets are going to come from inspiration that I had when planning a momentum unit in high school. So I'm going to share a little bit about that. I've been a tech integration specialist and now leading the blended learning team. And actually, Carrie and Lindsay are part of that crew. So Carrie, you want to share about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So obviously I get to work with Brad and Lindsay every day. We are part of the blended learning team in Blue Valley. I'm a district coordinator for blended learning. We work K-12, but I kind of came from the elementary world. So that's a little bit where my lens is, where Brad definitely has the secondary lens. So we, the three of us kind of complement each other nicely. But I love working with obviously the whole gamut, K-12. It's just great. And this is, I think, something that works. What we're going to share today is something that we use for professional learning, but it really can work in a classroom K-12. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm Lindsay Hallett, and I also get to work with these two, I was going to say fools, but they're not fools.
Well, some days.
Act a fool.
Right. And I also have that elementary lens as a former 3rd and 4th grade teacher, but I'm also a district coordinator, and this is my first year in this role, so it's been fun to kind of learn alongside Carrie and Brad.
It's almost like we try to come up with rad ideas, and then we get to go collaborate with our teachers. We get to go collaborate with we have design coaches in our elementary and middle schools. And so we get to collaborate with them, and then they are doing coaching and designing and developing rad lessons using Canvas. And so, yes, this is what we're going to share today. We've used for professional learning as we tried to unpack this world of gamified. So let's go blast from the past. Let's go a little retro throwback. In the classroom, I'm constantly looking for, as a teacher, I'm constantly looking for how do I better engage my students to help them basically buy into this learning and make this learning their own, like personalize it. And so as a teacher, I'm constantly, building a lesson and then trying to tweak that lesson to make it better, more fun, more engaging. I think if kids are having fun with their learning, they're going to love it and they're going to want to do more of it. And so gamified, of course, kids, not just kids and adults we love gaming. We love playing games. And so gamifying your lesson, or gamifying a unit, or gamifying your whole course is one way to kind of bring out that engagement factor. I was inspired by, let me share this link. Mark, I forgot to show this to you earlier, but I'm posting the link in the chat. I was inspired by a TED Talk from many years ago. Shout out to my man, Paul Anderson. Paul Anderson, I tweeted him shortly after I watched this video, and I got like a thumbs up from him once, and I was like, yes, through the roof. Paul Anderson. Paul Anderson does Bozeman science. So all my science geeks out there, you guys know what I'm talking about when I say Bozeman science. Like, Paul Anderson is rad. Anyways, this YouTube video that he shared, TED Talk, he started off and just said, hello, I'm Paul, I'm Mr. Anderson. And today I want to talk to you about my classroom. And he said something like, my biology classroom is a video game. And then he just dives into how he pulled out game elements and applied them to his classroom. And kids were just, boom, all over, learning biology, collaborating with each other, and then building out or demonstrating their learning through his classroom. And I said, I want some of that. And that's what inspired me. That's what got me down this road of like, let's apply game elements to learning, because it's fun, guys. It's fun. Flappy Birds, you remember that? All right, so as I unpack game elements, ISTE is a huge, has some great resources around gamifying your learning. And there were two threads I just want you to hear before we launch, and you're going to see this in our professional learning. One thread in gamifying your classroom is around game dynamics, and one thread is around game mechanics. You use both of these. Game dynamics kind of refers to like how the game is played and why do kids want to play the game, or why would a student dive in, or the narrative or the storyline to the game. How do you master or conquer or win? So that's kind of this game dynamics around, how do you earn points and things like that. And then you have the game mechanics, which actually is like levels, experience points. Are there going to be badges? Are there quests that you go on? Are there, do you do teamwork versus individual work, and all of those sort of mechanics to make the game work? And so we kind of use a little bit of both of those in a topical way. So this is pretty lightweight. I think anyone can follow the pattern we've used to start getting into this gamified world. So, so that being said, Carrie, Lindsay, anything else you want to apply on that sort of gamified, why you might get into this?
Yeah, we were just really kind of looking for a way for our teachers to level up their Canvas learning. And we have two things that we're going to share with you today. The first one is this Canvas levels of learning, and then what it's kind of morphed into and what we've kind of now changed it to is arcade learning. But this was kind of our original vision, was to allow teachers the option to kind of participate, but we wanted to make it a little more fun because it was optional. It wasn't something that they necessarily had to do. So we wanted to make sure that it had that game aspect to it. So it was a little more enticing for them to actually participate in. And so that's kind of where we landed to begin with. And I'll kind of let Brad talk a little bit more about how we got here.
This levels of learning, when we launched Canvas, we built out levels of learning so that our teachers could master the skills, all the skills of Canvas. And so that's where levels of learning, it grew out of that necessity. And then Carrie did a great job of kind of theming this, following the kind of the retro feel. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the mushroom is actually the Canvas logo sort of embedded into that mushroom head. Canvas, I hope you're okay with that. We got copyright approval and all that good stuff. So
Brad, off your shirt too.
I won't tell.
You won't tell. So it's a nice theme, and actually gamifying, and having this sort of theme, this little hook, it makes it easy for us to talk to a teacher and say, hey, have you completed levels of learning? Are you on level 1? Are you on level 2? Which coin badge are you going at? And like, it allows us to have a conversation and kind of all know what we're talking about when we're doing this. So in a real short like overview of levels of learning, because we really want to show off arcade of learning, But in a real short overview of levels of learning, it's basically a series of modules, and these modules, we call them coins. So our users go and collect these coin badges by completing a series of activities that are listed in a Canvas module. And the beauty of Canvas is Canvas plus Badger equals automation for awarding those badges. So when kids complete a module in its entirety, the student then is awarded the badge that you've set up ahead of time. And so we've integrated Badger and Canvas together. Badger's an awesome free tool. We haven't paid for the pro version. I know there's a pro version and it's got extra bells and whistles. Right now, we're just on the free version of Badger. We integrate that into the course, and now we can award and assign badges based on module completion. And so the way we structured this is we had a series of coin badges that needed to be complete. And then because we didn't want to only rely on computer generated responses or feedback for our students, we wanted to make sure that our teachers, our instructors, those leading this professional learning, which were like our instructional design coaches, our district level professional learning folks, we could then have an opportunity to check in personally with each one of our students. And so we asked them to go collect these coin badges, and then you'll notice there's a level 1 badge. We call it the level up badge. And it's on this level up badge where students have to submit the screencast and then get the feedback from an individual, a person, a human, and provide that feedback based on that screencast submission. And so they go get 6 badges, coin badges, and then they have to stop. They have to complete the screencast, submit that, and get feedback from a person before they can go to level 2 and start collecting those coin badges. And so this was a nice way to incorporate those the mechanics of levels, but also to incorporate the human, the personalized feedback that we know is needed to help each one of us kind of grow on the path. So.
Yeah, and we found that this structure worked really well for this, especially, again, like I mentioned earlier, it was optional for our staff to complete. So we felt we could have the manpower to really look, this final task is a screencast that they have to submit. So we felt like we could manage that at our level where, we're a rather large district, but we were able to really look at those screencasts, be able to give them feedback before they moved on to their next level. And we did, this is actually shared in the Canvas Commons, a version of it that we kind of made a little more general, but this is the nice part about this is some of the information here, because this is something we rolled out a couple of years ago, is not necessarily as relevant. The guides don't have like the new rich content editor, for instance. But the structure of it is really something that could be used by taking it, bringing it in from Commons, using the structure, and then updating it to meet your own district's needs for professional learning, or even for your own classroom needs to be able to use with students. So
okay, that's a rad idea. Rad idea.
That's a double. That's 4 points.
Double up for Carrie. Double up for Carrie.
I feel like I should say rad now, just so I get some.
Okay, so you did mention there, Carrie, that this is in the Commons. We already had a question about that. So who do they? Is under your name? Is under Brad's name? How do they find it?
Yep, under Brad's name.
Okay, so Brad Moser, everyone. You might find the word rad in Brad. Brad Moser, everybody, go check it out.
Oh my gosh. I just realized that, Mark. Genius.
But essentially, so this was kind of like our first iteration of like doing gamified professional learning. And then this last summer, we were tasked with doing a district-wide professional learning. And where this required someone to look at those screencasts before they could move on, we knew that would not be manageable at our district level. And then that's sort of where Arcade of Learning was born. And at some point, we'll probably retire our levels of learning. We do still have a handful of teachers that are using it. And so we don't want to quite retire it yet. But essentially, it's now morphed into what we now have is our Arcade of Learning. And actually, I'm going to go to the much more fun page, which has all of our arcade games on it.
And I noticed, Carrie, Marcus just said something around theming and how it's a great way to unify and structure the content. Yeah, that's it. So it's like what you're saying is so important. And Marcus, we totally agree that if you can theme this thing, it helps draw people in, but it also helps them stay connected. So you're going to see these various games, but everything's themed around these games, so you know where what you're working on.
Yeah.
And Brad, let's take this comment before we move on from Portia, our
Yeah.
friend who's a regular. You all are rad, everyone. Everyone.
Yeah,
One for Portia.
2
Points, double points.
Oh, I love it. So essentially we morphed to this arcade of learning, and the idea for the arcade of learning was definitely Brad's idea, and then we just kind of took it and ran with it. And of course we have 6 games in this arcade, and each one is Canvas themed, but obviously themed off of the old school arcade games. And I think the most powerful thing in this course that we started with was a quiz for our teachers to take. And I'm going to let Lindsay kind of speak to that quiz and how we really leveraged Canvas quizzes to guide our teachers.
It was interesting because I felt like this quiz was kind of a late add-on for us. It was maybe an afterthought. We were thinking, we have all these games, and how are teachers going to know which games to play? Because we were kind of saying this should take, 2 games should take about 3 hours of professional learning. So we needed a way to guide them to specific games that would kind of maximize their time so they could walk away at the end really having added more Canvas knowledge to their toolkit. And so we created this quiz, and it was just a true-false quiz that they had to say, can I do these things with confidence, or can I do these things really well? And when they said false, Carrie, are you going through? And
I'm going through, yep. I'm taking the quiz, guys. Sorry, quiz.
Going through. So true or false, they were just saying, can I do these things? Yes or no. And then once they submitted the quiz, it gave them the feedback to say, okay, you're not sure how to do these things, so this might be the next game that you go and play, or you do know how to go and do these things, and we recommend this next game for you. So this was a way for us to guide them to the game that was going to give them the most Canvas knowledge in the best way possible.
Hey, Lindsay, as you're sharing that, I'm just thinking, man, it would be dope. We should have added a link right there to that game.
But we
right?
wanted them to go, we actually talked about that, Brad.
Yeah.
We wanted them to go through the whole getting started module, and that would have taken them out of our module.
That's
so we
right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
we thought
reminding me.
about it.
But the getting started module has other information for them. And so we wanted them to go through the entire module. And if we, obviously put a link in there, it would have directed them out of it. But one thing I do want to point out about our feedback is even if they said true, we did try to provide something, this was around Canvas Studio and quizzes. And obviously there's that new direct share feature. This was sharing in Commons as well. And so even if they said, yes, I can do those things, there were some new things that had come out over the summer that we wanted to make sure to highlight. So if they were to say true on every single one, you might say like, okay, yeah, you don't need to go play Pack Canvas, but you might want to at least go into it, check out the new feature. And that way they at least had a place to go if they were to have answered true on every single question.
Yeah, and this, this idea of like a pre-quiz is totally how games work, right? We just downloaded some new game for the Xbox for Casey. It's like a Ninja Warrior type little game. It's funny, the little avatar guy runs through. But level 1, he can totally complete it. It was pretty basic, but it gave him like, can you jump? Can you slide? Can you climb the little rope? And so now he knows these skills. In level 2, where he's going to apply that, it's like unpacking it. It's deeper. It's more difficult. It has more content for him to complete, but he's got the base down, so he can kind of go. He can complete it, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do with these types of quizzes, is to give them some like, yeah, you have some things that you've mastered, or maybe you haven't mastered any of these things. Well, let's give you some encouragement to start here. And then go. And that's something you want to think about when you're doing game design, is you got to kind of have a low floor and a high ceiling, right? That way you can differentiate and meet the needs of all of your learners. Because we know if you're K-12, right, you got 30 kids in your classroom, like that's challenging. And so we lean upon tools like Canvas to allow us to do things like this and personalize or get more personalized with our users, in this case, our teachers.
Yeah. And truthfully, we actually modeled this off of Grow with Canvas. We used a lot of the resources that are already provided there, but we knew that if we just took Grow with Canvas right out of the box, it wasn't going to meet where our teachers were at, but we still loved that those resources were already curated and already done so well that we knew we could pretty much just kind of take them, remix it for our staff and have it be a little bit more impactful and personalized to what we needed. And I'll actually kind of show now, sorry, scrolling. I'll go into our actual, one of the modules. You can kind of see what that game looks like. And I'll just go with the first one, but we even have like trailers. Brad made us some awesome rad.
They are rad. They are rad.
But essentially when they click into the game, you'll see that this does have a very similar feel to Grow with Canvas. And we've got kind of outlined what levels they're going to do. And I think something that we really loved was how we handled the tasks, because even though they were not something that we were really able to look at every single staff member's final task, it was after they kind of learned these two things, we did ask them to actually go in and try that activity. You know, this one was about course navigation. So it's like, go in and actually change your course navigation. And then we asked them to take a screenshot and then submit that in the quiz at the end of the module. So we were really trying to make it task-based, because we know so much of that learning happens when you actually do, rather than watching the video or reading the guide. It's like, okay, you've done those things, but now go in and actually try it yourself and see if there's some nuances that maybe weren't explicit when you read the guide the first time, but then coming back to it after you've had a chance to experience it, you now know, oh, okay, it did say that. I need to make sure I'm doing this correctly.
You know, and there was a comment Courtney just said, I just want to go play Canvas Revolution as a former Dance Revolution superstar. So I'm thinking, Carrie, what we could have done. So this is, let's just ideate for a minute if we can break free of our outline here. But like what we probably could have done to level that up is once a teacher earned their Dance Revolution badge, I mean, we could have added an element of fun to say, all right, now go make that, you know, don't do TikTok, but TikTok-like video that we can then share with the rest of the staff and have a good fun laugh at. Hey, you've mastered Dance, Canvas Revolution, like, well done. So there's a way maybe principals, administrators to take that to that next level, is kind of have that share out. And what you're doing by doing that is, one, you're celebrating that teacher for the success and the completion and the, hey, well done, like you've mastered some content, and you're celebrating that, but you're also putting a little peer pressure on others in a fun way that's kind of lighthearted, so that it's like, oh man, let me go do that and have a little bit of that fun too. So that's an idea for you.
And we did, and I'll let Lindsay speak to this about the difference, how we had two courses. Lindsay, you want to talk to that?
Yeah, we really had to differentiate for our two levels. We had an elementary course and a secondary course. And the reason for that was because our elementary had just started with standards-based grading. And so a lot of the information as far as quizzes and assessments in their homepage, having a blueprint from at the district level, required us to personalize it a little differently for elementary versus secondary. So they were very, very similar, but we had to switch out a few things and curate the information in a different format. So we had an elementary level.
Yep.
And our secondary teachers have been using. Sorry.
Go for it. I was going to say, tell Lindsay to talk about the little video clips too when you get a second.
So,
go ahead, Carrie.
What's so awesome is our secondary staff have been using Canvas for longer than our elementary. And Lindsay had this brilliant idea that I will let her speak to over here about this graphic. So Lindsay, talk to that for us.
So brilliant.
It was elementary. Totally rad.
Totally rad.
So elementary, like I had said, had just been using Canvas for standards-based grading, and we had, you know, a handful of teachers that had really dove in and really started utilizing Canvas with their students. So we wanted to highlight all of the ways that they had found success and really started utilizing Canvas kind of ahead of some of our other teachers. So we had this Canvas in action part within the modules, and this was just a way to highlight all the rad things our teachers were already doing with Canvas. And so we just had them record 1 to 2 minute little snippets. Hey, you're learning about modules. Let's look at how an elementary teacher already has been using modules in her classroom. So you're seeing it kind of live in action. Sometimes we say, okay, here's what you really need to be doing, but how does it really look in the classroom? And so they were able to get a glimpse of Canvas in action in real life in a Blue Valley elementary school.
So this idea is totally not original, right? It's not our own. We stole, well, at least I know I stole this inspiration from Springfield Public Schools. Shout out Springfield Public, Missouri. Nicole Lemon, her crew has a glass classroom kind of thing. This is several years ago, but it's the similar idea. Super rad. It's also connected to the technology integration matrix. If you've seen that down in Florida, also a rad framework, but they have video clips of seeing teachers in action as they integrate technology, and I love it. It's kind of like the Teach channel, right? Those are some great resources. That's what kind of inspired us to create that. Hey, will you guys talk to me about Jared asked a question. Jared Watson says, I love the idea. The only issue I foresee is the time for developing this content, and then you got to keep it up to date. So, I mean, talk to us about, we took LOL and we kind of decommissioned it, if you will, and then we got like, how long are we going to keep this in action? What do you think?
Yeah, that's Brad, the director, would have to make that decision. But in terms of development, I mean, it really started with, just kind of us ideating around what we were going to do next after Canvas LOL, and having that need for our teachers to have that professional development this summer. And then from there, like we just kind of took the ball and ran with it. Between Lindsay and I, and we also brought on another instructional coach. Shout out to Michael Burton. Thank you for all
Michael Burton.
Between the three of us, we just basically kind of took the content and ran with it. And Michael brought a secondary lens for us. And so he really helped with that. But truthfully, because we used so much of growing with Canvas, we were able just to really take that. And what's nice is we linked out to the guides for Canvas. So we didn't really create too much of our own guides in that sense, because that way we know they'll be continued to be updated. So when the new rich content editor rolled out, those guides were updated by Canvas, and we didn't have to go in and make our own and update them. And that was a little bit of it's something we did with Canvas LOL too. We linked to Canvas's stuff, so that way it continues to live, and we're not the ones that have to maintain it.
What's been nice too is when we get questions from teachers, hey, how do I do this? We can directly link them to the Arcade of Learning page or game, because the guide's there's a video. And even if they've already played the game, here's a quick refresher. If they haven't played the game, they can dive in a little bit more. But it's been a great way for us to just offer those resources to them as well. It's just all curated and ready to go.
And in the games themselves, so to finish that thought, and then I want to talk about the game itself. Just talk through the mechanic of the game, real simple and maybe quick. But the games, the arcade that we have currently has 6 games, and so as something maybe new gets developed or pushed out, or how the new assignments are coming with the new kind of workflow and all of that, so we can capture that and build out a new retro game. Maybe it's Super Mario game. Okay, so we add that into this mix, and that will help us maybe keep this around for maybe a year or 2 or 3. It might live for 3 years, and then eventually we're going to need to move on and kind of go full fresh. But I think we'll see this for this year, next year, and probably taper off that 3rd year, Jared, to kind of finish that thought.
And Maureen actually asked a good question as well. She says, was it self-paced, or did they have several PD days? So essentially what we did is we opened it up, I believe it was like July 1st.
Yep.
Does that sound right, guys? Yeah. So we used June. Brad is our only 12-month employee, but Lindsay and I work some extra days as part of our coordinator contract. But so we used that time to kind of create it, and then we rolled it out July 1st. And then from that point, our teachers had the opportunity to complete the 3 hours worth of time. And then, and I hope this is okay, I'm saying this, Brad, but then our district allowed them to swap that time. So they essentially gave us their 3 hours during July online, self-paced, all on their own. And then they were able to swap that time in August. And what was nice about that is then if they didn't want to swap their time, they still could use that time in August to complete it. But for those that were like go-getters, wanted to get it done, wanted to have that, like, I want to know what I'm doing come August, it wasn't this last minute PD. Instead, it was kind of when they needed it, when they had time. We had some friends that would post like, I'm working on it by the pool. And we're like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it was, it was nice because, and again, they could stop it and come back to it. It didn't have to be a 3-hour chunk where you're exhausted at the end of it, but rather they could space it out. So that's how we definitely rolled that out with our staff.
And if I were to do this again, so think about what you might do differently. So I'll share mine just because it's on top of my head. But what you guys think about, what would we do to make it better, different, change it? But if I were to do it again, I might take our modules. So the game is built in a module, and then there are pages in that module followed by a quiz at the end. I might make those pages and use inside of Canvas. Canvas has this really cool requirement feature in a module that requires a teacher or a student to mark the page as done, meaning they've read the page and whatever it is they need to do on the page or whatever, they then have to go and say, hey, I'm done with that. So you mark it as done. I think I would apply that to all of our pages where they have to just read and watch something and then submit the quiz, right? And I would make that into one module as a completion. So do you guys have any other thoughts on what would we do differently next time?
No, I think that's a great point, Brad, because I believe we just had them set to view, and that's not really for the participant. There's not like an acknowledgement of like, I did it. You know, it's more like they don't necessarily even realize they've done it. And
we need confetti. When they mark done, we need confetti to drop out of the sky.
Who doesn't
Canvas, make it happen?
Yeah.
Canvas, make it happen.
But no, I mean, I completely agree. And that's what's so nice, though, is that Canvas does have those requirements and prerequisites and things that really allowed us to make it self-paced, because there were certain checkpoints throughout it that they had to finish before they could move on. And so that really did allow us to let it be self-paced and not have to be managed by someone.
Yeah. Lindsay, any thoughts there?
No, I was trying to think back to when we created that standards-based grading professional learning. I can't think of what it's called. Carrie, we added it to the bottom of the pages. Please tell me.
Like a progress bar.
The progress bar. That's the only thing. But again, if we had had those checkpoints with mark is done, that's essentially the same thing. But I know a lot of teachers like the progress bar as well.
Yeah, I like the check is done. When you go to a module view, if you're a student, and this is awesome on the app, it's also awesome on the website. If you go to module view as a student, you'll see a little green check mark, and you'll see like a little gray missing mark, and you'll see a little blue exclamation mark, which means the teacher hasn't scored it yet. So anyways, you have a nice tracking or progress indicator. Hey, Marcus has a good idea too. I just saw it. We probably could have designed this to be a little more group completing. Sure. So maybe you do a part, you do a part, you do a part, and then you got to get together somehow using Zoom, right? And collaborate and do one other part. So that would be a cool another way to level.
Great idea. Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, let's be really careful anytime we're giving Marcus those kind of props. Let's be careful. Hey, shout out to the Canvas Casters. Brand new episode just came out with our very own Melissa Lobel. Go check it out.
On it. Lobel.
Yeah.
No, that's
I mean, this is actually pretty good. Like, I'm looking at our time clock, and normally we're much more long-winded than this, but we probably could talk about this for like another.
Right.
We probably could talk about this for another 3 hours, but we just kind of wanted to share what's kind of worked for us and what we've developed, and just to kind of share how that gamification has really worked as a benefit for us, and how Canvas has allowed that to be a really seamless, smooth process for us to create and allow our teachers to have that self-paced learning. So,
was that a heart for Canvas? Is that what that was, Brad?
That was a heart.
We heart Canvas.
We heart
Canvas.
I
like it. I like it. Okay, everybody, we're gonna let these good people get to their weekend. It's almost time. They're a few hours out. Again, Brad, Lindsay, Carrie, always a pleasure. If you haven't followed them on the old social media, go check them out. The Tweeter, maybe on the Facebook, and the Google too, and the Google. Go give them a follow. Big shout out to this incredible Facebook group that Carrie and Lindsay created called Canvas for Elementary.
Oh yeah, by the way, did you guys know these are the founders here? Carrie and Lindsay. Like, this is
not sure if you've heard or not.
That's incredibly difficult to point at people on this.
Nope, I'm still
This is them, everybody. This is them.
This is
our Bitmojis that are at the top of the page.
Did you guys know we actually link to the Canvas for Elementary page on the Canvas website now?
No.
That's a mic drop.
I'm going to have to go check that out.
We do.
Like
100% money back guarantee. I'll send you the link.
Why are you guys blushing? Why are you blushing? That's what I wanted. Can I just say, Mark, on the record, I love working with Carrie and Lindsay. Really, everyone in Blue Valley has just been phenomenal. But these two gals, they put their heart and soul into everything that they do, and just drive blended learning forward in Blue Valley. And it's just we're so grateful to have them as part of our district. And I know our teachers would say the same thing for both of you guys.
Well,
I'm really blushing.
oh, shucks.
Now you're blushing.
And Brad, and I have to Brad is our OG. Like, we would not know what we know about Canvas if it weren't for Brad. So like, we are the lucky ones, Brad. We are the lucky.
I have been a Canvas fan for a really long time. Maybe even back to like founder time.
Whoa.
Like, I can tell you that story sometime, Mark. It's a good one.
I'm ready for it. Okay, everybody. Happy Halloween tomorrow in this weird Halloween of a year.
Oh, we should have dressed up.
What were we thinking?
I could have been
Golly.
Princess from Super Mario.
There's always next year. There's always next year. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. We are back on Monday, 10:30 a.m. Mountain, and there's going to be much rejoicing in the land because Queen Kona is coming to drop some knowledge. Some of you may have seen her kindness presentation from CanvasCon. We figured, I don't know if you guys know what's going on next week, but we figured we needed a little kindness during what's going to happen next week. So Queen Kona's coming to share. I don't know. I don't know, something. 10:30 a.m. Mountain, Monday morning, Queen Kona. We'll see everybody then. Have a good weekend.
Bye.